Hey everyone, my name is Lee Brinkman and today I will be showing you how to create a delicious caramel cake entirely from scratch. I actually got this recipe from howstuffworks.com and I posted the link below if you'd like to access it yourself. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to preheat the oven to 375 degrees and grease and flour my two 8-inch round cake pans like so. In addition, I also like to have all of my ingredients ready and pre-measured, which I have over here, so that I don't make any mistakes measuring if I rush through the steps of the recipe. So I have all of those measured out and placed on the counter ready to use, and I also have my half cup of water on the stove ready to boil, as well as my other pan for caramelizing the sugar preheating on a medium heat. But before we jump into mixing the batter and cooking the cake, I would first like to focus on two of these ingredients and their importance to the basics of baking and to the composition of this cake batter: the all-purpose flour and the baking powder. So here I have all-purpose flour. Now flour is made of wheat kernels, and wheat kernels are composed of three main parts: the endosperm, bran, and germ. Flour is made from the endosperm specifically, and the endosperm makes up about 83% of the wheat kernel and is composed of starches and proteins. The process to get the wheat kernel and transform it into flour consists of 4 steps: harvesting, milling, bleaching, and optional enrichment, which this flour has gone through, as you can see in the package. All-purpose flour like this one I will be using consists mainly of hard red winter and hard red spring wheat. Hard red winter wheat is the most popular type grown in the U.S., and it has a high protein content and is planted in the fall and harvested in early summer. Hard red spring wheat also has a very high protein content, but instead is planted in the spring and harvested in early or mid-fall. Both of these flours are found and blended into all-purpose flours like this one. So after the wheat is harvested, it proceeds to the milling process, which consists of breaking down the kernels into small particles, thereby separating the 3 parts of the kernel, and then refining the particles so that the endosperm can be separated for use in flour production. Once the flour is milled, it can either be placed in storage so that gluten can begin to form, or be bleached like this flour was so that the gluten can form faster. Finally, the flour can either be packaged or be enriched like this one was. The enrichment process specific nutrients are added to the flour that were lost during the previous processes. Nutrients added can include iron, calcium, and various B vitamins. The purpose of enrichment is to give the flour a finer texture and to increase shelf life. Baking powder is another important ingredient within this cake batter. Baking powder is a leavening agent commonly used within baking recipes. The leavening agent is responsible for the expansion of the dough or batter it is within through the release of gases in its chemical reaction. It consists of 3 parts: sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda, cream of tartar, and a drying agent such as cornstarch, which this one contains. Baking powder is used in recipes that do not have some sort of acidic agent within them, like this cake recipe. The drying agent present in baking powder is simply there to postpone the chemical reaction you will want within your cake batter until it is appropriate. Remember, baking powder and baking soda cannot be substituted for one another, so be sure to use baking powder in this recipe if you'd like to make this yourself. Now, this first step for baking the cake is the caramelization of the sugar, so I'm going to put my half cup of sugar into my pan that has been preheated over a medium heat, and then I'm sort of going to swirl this around constantly until the sugar is a golden brown and is melted. But while I'm doing this, I'm also going to have my half cup of water boiling so that once this sugar mixture has completely caramelized, I'll add in that boiling water to then dissolve the sugar completely for its use in the cake batter. So caramelization is a process by which sugar is heated to the point that its molecules begin to break down, and in this case our table sugar or sucrose is breaking apart to form glucose and fructose, and then these will then react with the heat and start to brown and form caramel. So in this process, a multitude of different characteristics will start to form, starting with the sourness and bitterness and then becoming extremely aromatic, and then finally the color will begin to change. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Now the sweet flavor of the sugar is almost gone, and it would then be replaced with a rich, fragrant, bitter, dark brown mixture. And the water in this case is used to keep the caramel mixture consistently brown throughout, as well as keep a consistent temperature throughout the process. So I am going to keep on doing this and swirling around the sugar constantly because you have to watch this the whole time so that it does not burn. And I will pop in to let you guys see what it looks like. So now we're just a few minutes into the process, but as you can see in here, I've got little bits of sugar melting and forming into that caramel, so I'm just going to keep watching it and continue this process until it is all completely caramelized. So now our caramelized sugar is completely done and our water is boiling. So we are quickly going to add that into our sugar mixture. Ooh. And then we want to make sure that we dissolve all of the sugar into the water very, very carefully. So be sure to do that. And then we'll proceed to the next step. So after we've created our caramelized sugar syrup, we're going to beat the egg whites in a bowl at medium speed until foamy, and then gradually add in a half cup of sugar until stiff peaks form. Next, we're going to combine together our flour, baking powder, and salt all together in the same bowl, and then just kind of gently combine that. Oops. And mix them all together. Finally, we're going to beat our stick of butter and remaining half cup of sugar in a large bowl until it's light and fluffy. And then we'll add in egg yolks, vanilla extract, almond extract, and the sugar syrup we made in the first step. Next, we're going to add in the dry ingredients, which we already pre-blended together, alternatively into our batter with the milk. And then finally, once that's all combined and blended together evenly, we're going to fold in that egg white mixture that we made with the sugar previously. So now our cake batter is finally complete, as you can see here. So the final step is then to split it in half, pour it into our two 8-inch pans, which we already greased and floured previously, and then throw them into that 375-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll see how they turn out. Okay, so I just took out the cakes. They finished up pretty quickly, in 25 minutes exactly, and we're completely done. So this is how they look. They look great. And so obviously the next step is then to let them cool off. After that, take them out of the pans. Usually they'll cool faster on a wire rack, so if you have one, go ahead and use that. And then after that, it's just icing the cake. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and you'll find some great caramel icing to put on top of this, or chocolate if you're like me. And happy cooking. I hope you enjoyed the video.